Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's open forum. Today we have a very special guest for you guys. Brooke Landau Chang is going to talk to us about planning for business, planning for success. Brooke is the founder and owner of Apex Title Services. Is that your title?
Yeah, that's it. Owner and managing member.
Owner and managing member. Brooke, please take it away.
Good morning. You have to forgive me. I'm losing my voice a little bit today, but we'll make it through the class. I'm going to share my screen real quick. All right. Can everyone see?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So I've been talking with agents around town and just coming into the holiday season and talking about next year and it's been a little bit of a slower year in 2025, so everyone's kind of saying let's think of some ways we can plan better, actually break some things down into numbers and get back to the basics of our reason why we're actually doing what we do, which is real estate. So in this class I just threw together number one, picking your reason why. Why are we doing this? What's our day-to-day? Because sometimes people, it's really easy to forget why we are working so hard, why, there's so many emotions in real estate, so many emotional people, especially if you're not working with investors and you have first-time home buyers. So it's really easy to get frustrated in that day-to-day. So we go over a little bit how to choose your big why. We also go through foundation and structure, and then picking your strategy. So I picked 3 in this section. You guys can pick whatever it is that works for you. And we'll go over a 90-day action plan. And then also I will send over a worksheet you can kind of base off of. So just some key points I wanted to make. 87% of realtors actually leave the business within 5 years. They always say that very few make it in that top 10 or even top 1%. Is even harder to strive for. So the difference between a lot of those top producers and people that get into this industry and they think it's going to be a part-time job, and then it ends up consuming so much of your time because you have to be on call and always available to your clients. And so that was one of the things that's always interesting to me, is what sets those 2 people apart, the top producers and then everyone else just trying to make it through, maybe get a deal a quarter. And a lot of that is structuring your business, planning for the future and what that market looks like. And a couple other things is success comes from measurable activity. A lot of people get into real estate thinking it's going to be a part-time job. It'll be easy. I'll get a deal or 2 a year. That'll make up for, my full salary over at this other place. And really, it doesn't work like that. People get into real estate and it's a rude awakening. They wake up one day and it's like the phone stops ringing and what do we do? So the important thing is to work it like a job and actually put in the time, put in those, X amount of hours, X amount of calls equals X amount of appointments, and then X amount of dollars. And it's really easy to break it down like that. And if you stick to those day-to-day planned out activities, then you'll be successful. So that's kind of one thing I wanted to go over. So first and foremost, goal setting is really important. That's what translates into actually producing, making money. But most importantly is why. Why are we doing this? A lot of people get into real estate for the freedom. So they don't have a boss, so they don't have a 9 to 5. So when it comes time to enjoy family time or vacations, they have that luxury of taking off whenever they want. And so I always want to break it down first to our big why. So a good way to point that out or figure that out, a lot of times people, your why changes. I know for me, This last year, I had my son. And so that was a really different personal conversation with myself as my big why. Why am I doing this? What is it? Before it was, having the career, being successful. Now it's a little bit different and it's shifted. It's turned into, what's going to be best for my son, having a legacy. And so those are things you want to think about when you are picking your why. And so a really good way to do that is to break it down and really figure out what's most important. So if everyone wants to join along, I have a little worksheet that we have in this section. So I say personal fulfillment is one, professional ambition is another, and then lifestyle and financial goals and achievements. So the first section, if you want to write it down or just think on it, personal fulfillment. What fuels your soul? And so for me, mine was spending time with my son, being able to, which is kind of funny because, I took on Apex title and now all I do is work, but maybe one day I'll get to the point where I can actually spend more time. But no, the reality is I really wanted to, have that personal time and personal family time and be able to take off whenever I wanted. And so what fuels your soul? So is it freedom? Is it freedom to travel, personal growth, creative expression, giving back to the community? There's so many reasons that, would fuel your soul. So think on that. And then the second would be professional ambition. So for mine was legacy. My big thing is having a legacy for my son. And that was a really big one that changed. But also, what impact do you want to leave? For me, it was kind of disrupting this industry and making sure that there was a place for realtors and for your clients that was really realtor and client centric and putting customer service first. So I really wanted to make a big impact in this career path. So for you guys, it might be a little bit different. It might be, professional ambition might look like, becoming a top producer, maybe building a team. A lot of people want to build a team. Financial independence, finding that passive income, that's a really big one. And then also becoming a respected industry expert, being that person where, maybe sitting around Thanksgiving and you're the go-to realtor. Now you're the person everyone's like, they're the pro, they're the ones you want to ask. So what does that look like to you? Is that professional ambition? And really thinking on that. And then your next will be lifestyle and financial goals. So what kind of life are you working for? I know, other other brokerages, they have build life by design, different things like that, that they base their training off of. So for you, what kind of life are you looking to live? And is there a goal tied to that? Is there buying a dream home, or maybe it's just simply paying off credit card debt, paying off debt, funding your kids' futures and education. Maybe there's college. Maybe you want to have them, in private school instead of public school. Retiring. A lot of people get into real estate later in life. Instead of having a large retirement fund, they say, you know what? I'm going to go into real estate that I have the freedom and the financial ability to travel. And then also financial security and generational wealth building. So those are 3 different ways to kind of find your big why. And we are just going to put that together. So right now, write down your core 3 reasons and what makes you tick. And then that might kind of help you fuel this next year and building your business and how you're going to kind of build the next steps, which we're going to put down as well in defining those goals. So when times get tough this next year, if you have a really difficult day, or you go, I really don't feel like making those calls, or I don't feel like getting these mailers out, or I really, I'm having a deal, maybe it's falling through. You wake up and you think of that one reason that you're doing this, and it'll get you through, because we all know we need that in real estate. So next, defining your goals. So now we're going to write down, we're actually going to plan out. So first you want to write down your gross commission and your actual income that you want. So over here we have an example, 240,000. And let's just say 8,000 a transaction. So that's 30 transactions a year. So go ahead and write down what your goal annual income is. And then we want to do what your average, because some people are in Windermere, maybe that's, you know, a lot less transaction. It could be more like 20 or even 12 transactions if you're in high end. So whatever area that you're in and working currently, you want to write down about how much that is per transaction, and that'll give you your goal, that the number of transactions that you'll want to work. Okay. So this equals your required number of transactions. Break it down monthly, weekly, and daily. So we're going to get it down to science where you know exactly how many calls you need to make, exactly how many mailers you're going to have going out and what that looks like. So for instance, on this one, it's 30 transactions divided by 12 months. That's going to be 2.5 closings per month. We break it down to weekly. That's going to be 0.6 closings per week. And what does that look like, right? So how many calls do we have to make to get there is the next slide. So this means that you always want to be working towards one closing every 7 to 10 days. And that's at that, you know, 240,000. Not everyone's going to have that goal. Okay. So again, just a little breakdown, my average commission per closing, number of transactions required, closings per month, and closings per week. So that's what this is going to spell out for you. All right. So strategy 1. So first, even before we get here, I want you to pick 3 different strategies. So for me, mine would be calling, mailers, and community. That's just what I know best. So I always am a cold caller. That's probably why my voice is so hoarse outside of the cold that my son brought home. But no, I am a cold caller. So for me, it's much easier to pick this as, of course, my first strategy. So cold calling, to me, remains one of the most effective and controllable activities that I can count on. So by being consistent and calling FSBOs, expireds, I always try to not take it another step, and you guys can always reach out to me for different leads, but this time of year or even over the summer, sometimes I target empty nesters, and those are some of the things that I help other agents achieve. And so if you ever need leads like that, we can break those down. But I know we did a mailers class a while back. But for me, it's simple math. It's how many calls equal how many conversations lead to how many appointments, which leads to listings and then closings. And of course, we all know listings hold equity. And that is what, for me, that's most controllable. And that's what I always try and teach my agents. So for me, 100 calls per day, I try to break that down to 20 conversations a day. So that's a really good way for an agent to make a list, or whether you use Mojo dialing, RedX, whatever it might be. Make sure you're having 20 back and forth two-way conversations every single day. And that will lead you to about 2.5 listing appointments per week, or I'm sorry, 2 to 5 listing appointments per week, and then 1 to 2 new listings, hopefully, taken per week. And I know right now it's a little bit slower to actually get buyers, but that's okay. The more listings you have, the more you have to count on. So that's one way we can do it here as far as numbers we can actually count on. And then again, that's weekly 500 calls per week equals 25,000 calls per year. And I always say the law of averages was never repealed. Let's see. I have a question. Are you your calls on the do not call list. So what I pull from, they're already scrubbed. So they are on the if they're on the do not call list, you actually have a choice. You can add them if you want to take the risk, or you can remove them. But I pull from Title Pro 24/7, which I like because that gets a little bit more detailed in what I am pulling. But Mojo is a really good way to pull those numbers, and seems to work out really well. But yes, they're on that do not call list, and it'll tell you up in the corner, and you can have them removed or not. So good question. And then potentially 60 plus listings annually if conversion rates are consistent. And of course, again, this is one of 3 ways. So make your plan, make your calling strategy one of them, and then we're going to break this down. So how many conversations versus how many appointments, just a quick tracking worksheet. I know I've seen a lot of agents, we actually do on, what was that? Can you type in here those names? What names? Oh, the names of what I use. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Mojo and Title 20.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. So Mojo is a really good one. RedX is another one. I hear really good things. There's one, Vortex, something Vortex. I'll have to look up. And then for me, at Title, I use a system from the underwriters. Not a lot of people have. We have Title Pro 24/7. And if you need that, just reach out to Brooke, and I'll help you with that. I can pull those. Okay. Okay. And then bulk ringlet. Oh, Vulcan. That was it. Yeah. Good. That's a really good one, is Vulcan. But yeah, anytime you need that. And I think I can't scroll up for some reason. There was one. Oh, here we go. All right. Vulcan 7. How about bulk ringless voicemail? I think it all depends on your settings, right? As far as Mojo. So the way I know it, on Wednesdays, I host a class at my Winter Garden office, and it's just, I always joke, it's non-denominational, that people from all different brokerages show up, and it's almost like a boiler room setting. And so a lot of these agents that are really good cold callers, people come and they listen to, and they see what systems they're using, what they're saying on the phone. And you can make calls. There's plenty of room. There's offices you can jump into, but you're more than welcome to join us in doing that. And it's really cool. You'll be able to listen and kind of hear what's going on, what they're saying to these. But yeah, as far as ringless or voicemail, I'm not quite sure how Mojo does it. I do know that they have an automated version, and that calls like 5 people at once. So you're getting those numbers in. And as soon as a good one answers, it, patches you on almost with AI technology. But those are really good systems to invest in. I know a lot of top agents are cold callers. And again, when I was selling real estate, that's what I relied upon. And even now, that's all I do all day long is call my agents, check in on my agents. So some are warm calls because my industry is a little bit different, and being on the title side. But I've always relied on cold calls. I think that's always a really good way to count on your business and to be able to, I know one that is a top producer, and it's like he has his little tick marks every day, just like the 5 tick marks. And as soon as he hits his 100, he goes home for dinner, and that's what it is. And so you really want to create that and figure out what works for you, what those numbers look like for you. So again, here's just a very basic call tracking worksheet. Again, a lot of these top agents, they, don't have anything too fancy. They might have the dialer going and how many conversations, and that's that. And so you can just total up everything. And after about, 3 or 4 weeks, you'll be able to see how many calls are leading to how many appointments? How many appointments am I actually taking listings on? Let me see. In your experience, what time of the day yield? You know what's funny? People, it's kind of all over. So when I do host these classes, I allow agents to go as early as 6:30 in the morning, and they'll get there before me, and they'll start dialing. I've noticed that there's quite a bit of answering in the morning, about 7 o'clock, and they always say, "Can you call me back about 2?" So it's kind of funny. It's almost like they'll answer the phone, you can get them, and then a lot of times they still do answer you again. If it's, remember, some of these people are expired listings, they might have stories, they might have issues, they might be frustrated, and they do want someone to hear their frustrations, even if a past agent didn't work out. They want to tell you all about it. And so I would say really early is a good time, like that 7 a.m. I know even back in timeshare days when I used to sell timeshare, it was always 6:45. They used to say was the best time to sell. So that 7 a.m. to about 8:30 is a really good time. That afternoon coffee break or pick me up at 2 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock, somewhere in there is good. And then even in the evenings, one thing that a lot of us all have in common, or, I always say realtors, they should make their day about prospecting throughout the day, because then in the evenings is when the appointments typically happen, right? That's when sellers are getting off work and they say, come by about 5:36, I'll be done with work. So you tend to see that with a lot of these top producers, is during the day is their time to prospect and call. And in the evenings and afternoons, that's when they're making their appointments, and even weekends. And so, as far as a good time, I would say is 7 o'clock, that late afternoon time, and then even in the evenings. And I do want to point out, don't let that hinder you either. There's no bad time to call. So a lot of people try and say, oh, I missed my window, not going to call. Well, a few phone calls is better than no phone calls. So make sure that you're not using that to hinder yourself from calling or talk yourself out of, because we all know that self-talk can really get to you. But yeah, so this is a good, just simple worksheet, just call tracking worksheet for you. So the next, I was trying to think of different ways that people gain business, and mailers is one, but also community involvement. Even as far, I can speak for being in title and this move over to Winter Garden, being a part of a community, being a part of, having community involvement, maybe city hall groups, maybe over at the brewery, things like that. That has really helped me in my business. And so I always say that, and I know I've taught you guys a class on mailers and farming, and that was a really big takeaway I think everybody also had in that class, was to pick your community and be a part of it, and actually be on their Facebook, be on their different events they might have. And so first, why a community involvement is a relationship first strategy. So once you've gained a relationship and people recognize you in that neighborhood or in that community, just like in Winter Garden, it's really helped me in my business. Same with you if you're in any community. You could be present at the HOA meetings, things like that. But people like to work with people that they know, like, and trust. And I think that's a really big, aside from the calls, yes, that can be your day-to-day. But then when it comes to community, you want to make sure that you're involving these people in your sphere of influence. So those everyday people, when you're walking your dog, when you're, out. I know one agent that he walks his dog every day. His dog is on the mailers, and everyone knows his dog. They don't really know the agent. But as soon as they see the dog, they go, oh, that's him. That's the one that sold my neighbor's house. So even being a part of those day-to-day activities. So community mapping, just list 3 communities that you authentically belong to. So in your day-to-day life. So for me, I would put down my neighborhood. So my reserve at Belmere, I know everybody. Again, walking the dogs, going to work out every morning at the gym. Then second community that I would belong to would be the office neighborhood. So downtown Winter Garden. So that would be your second. So wherever, maybe it's a school, maybe it's a church. And then third would be where I volunteer. And so that would be, or a sponsored event. So that would be the third. So you want to pick 3 different communities you're a part of. And that's going to be your second. So first we have our calls, which was mine. And you can pick something different, but I put calls. Then your second would be community involvement. And then becoming a community member. So whether that's that church group, enrolling your kids in sports, volunteering is a really good way. Even synagogue, church, anything like that. Pilates, CrossFit. A lot of people are really into these gyms, and they, it's almost become a happening. Some of these gyms around town, so that's really good. And then there's always like a civic club or, Rotary or whatever it might be that works, or even networking groups. Although I have to say networking groups tend to be a bunch of other agents. So you want to try and be the only realtor in whatever that third group is that you're a part of. So next we're going to pick a method and break it down. So first, let's say mailers. I'm going to build a farm, right? So we have our first, it's going to be our community. It's going to be our neighborhood. And we're going to do mailers. Calculate that cost. You don't want to be spending thousands of dollars every month. And I know that's a kind of a second class, and I'm happy to come back and teach it because that gives a really good breakdown. But you don't want to spend all this money. You want to be very strategic with this. And so when you are choosing a neighborhood, make sure, you're looking at those, making sure, are they vacant? Are they owner occupied? Are we mailing it to the right address? So you do want to take those things into consideration. Okay, so it would be calling, farm, community leader. Those are going to be my 3. So that farm is next. So that mailers, calculate that cost. You want to project your return on investment. So if you're spending, and again, I know we talked about this in the past, you can find a landscaper, you can find a lender, you can find a title agent. Maybe there's someone who can help with the cost. But you want to pull those leads and make sure, okay, am I getting a good return on my investment? And you can go into Corfax or anything like that and set up a mailer schedule. And so you pick your mailers, and for each one, it'll send out a different mailer. And so you can do that. You can actually have a breakdown of costs and have a planned, let's say, quarterly mailer go out for that year. And then you'll get a good idea on return of investment. So if it's $6,000 a year, you want to make sure, how many deals are you getting at that? You don't want to break even. You want to make sure that you're at least getting a couple listings. And a really good way is to then send that mailer and use one of your other systems like cold calling or even warm calling to follow up once they have the mailer and say, have some sort of I drew a blank, but some sort of a spiel you want to give to follow up on those. And then maybe that equals 12 closings times 8, and that's 96,000 of your actual GCI. So that's what I'm getting at, is you want to make sure that there's a return on your investment. And we can always go through what to say. That's a whole other, I think, class, what to say on those mailers and also on the phone, whether it's warm versus cold. And we can always do that. Or, a lot of people role play or have a role play partner. And I'm always happy to provide some of the different things other agents say. I can get you different scripts from, Fairy or even some of these other cold calling events, but that's what we can do. And we can kind of figure out where your comfort zone is and your follow-up and things like that. Next, again, back to cold calling. This should equal about 12 closings a year. So back to that, 96,000 a year. And so you want to break it down as math, like you can actually count on. And then community leader, 5 new quality contacts or quality leads. So let's say that's weekly. We're going to count on a true relationship with somebody in these community events that you're going to. So that's 20 per month, 240 per year, convert 10 to 15%, and then that gets you to 24 to 36 transactions. So that's what we want to break down. And these are sometimes things you're going to have to think on. Are these realistic numbers? I know mine's a little bit high at the 240 a year income. So, does that make sense? Because overall, you should probably look at last year, and double those transactions might be a good goal to base off of. Because the worst thing you want to do is pick these numbers out of a hat and then all of a sudden it's too overwhelming. So I want to make sure it's in your comfort zone. And then next is just a 90-day action plan. So the easiest thing, so we have this last quarter of the year. It's a really good trial period. So if you can put, I would say, calls, go ahead and get into some of these events, these upcoming events for end of year in those communities that you're involved in, whatever it might be, whether it's, anything. It can be, we have so many things coming up with the holidays. And then also maybe doing some volunteer work, things like that, and go ahead and get that first 90-day action plan before 2026 gets started. And I think that'll really be a good segue into what next year looks like. And you'll be able to say, okay, I'm going to do mailers, calling, community. And then we'll be able to break down those numbers, something that's more realistic. So go ahead and outline your events for the next 90 days. I want you to pick how many calls you would like to make daily. And then, of course, about 20% of that is going to be the back and forth conversations that you have. So that's going to be a good way to then go into how many listings you'll take from that. I also want you to go to Corfax, and I'm going to send you guys a list of all of this so you can kind of base it off of. But go into Corfax, start looking at mailers and how to set up those mailers, what you want to go out, what you want to portray to the community that you've picked. And then lastly, what community engagements and what plans. So that's going to be end of year. And then next year, I think you'll have a really good takeaway. So again, weekly scorecard. You just want to check in with yourself every week. How many calls did I make? How many conversations did I have? Because of this, how many appointments did I set? How many mailers did I send? And then community events attended. And I know that's a very busy schedule, but I promise if you put everything into prospecting, those numbers will start following. And so the best thing is new contacts. So with your sphere of influence, it's really easy. A lot of people work their sphere of influence and they never leave those people and they just continue it and it works for them. I'm one that, for me, it's always worked. The more people I add to it and then generate leads from. So then I continue to work them, follow up. And of course, follow-up's the best way. It doesn't always have to be a cold call to be a call. So these are going to be your weekly scorecards. And then really that's it. I just wanted to kind of give you a basic outline of creating your life and by design and try and figure out what next year looks like. Getting that down on paper. I'm always here to be a resource for you. I'm happy to pull leads. I'm happy to sit down with you and say, okay, this is going to be my next year. What can title do? What lender are you working with? What can they do for you to help your success? Because we always want to pour into our agents. And really that's it. That's all I have this week. But give me a call if you need anything at all. If you need any resources, like we were saying earlier, where to pull these leads from. And it seemed like a lot of you guys were interested in the cold calling, I can do a secondary class on what to say, where to pull them from, something a little bit more detailed if Ryan will have me back. And so we can do that next time. And that's that.
Awesome. Thank you, Brooke. Do you guys have any questions for Brooke before she goes? We really appreciate you coming in, Brooke. And I know some people will be reaching out to you. We're going to talk about a lot of these things, but guys, this is coming down on this time. She talks about getting involved in your groups and all that stuff. Now's the time people are planning their holiday parties and all that stuff. Plenty of time to get involved with these people, and we talk about that a lot, Brooke. I know you don't know that, but you piece together. I have people, and some of their goals are to sell 10 houses a year, and you get 3 from being a mom, a soccer mom, and a PTA mom, and a this, and you get 3 from leads, and you get 3 from this, and 3 from 2 from here, 2 from there, and you just add stuff up, and it goes, and you put your name, you wear your name tag every day. You get one or 2 a year doing that. You'll get 1 or 2 for having the magnet on your car. You'll get deals from being around and just being a valued member of society, as long as you're contributing something, or you've got something to a calling card, like you said, the guy who walks the dog in the neighborhood. Daryl's one of our agents, and he picks up trash in his neighborhood, and people know him as the guy who picks up trash. So they know him for more than that, but so he's not the judge doesn't make him do it. He does it on his own. It's important to be involved in the community. So I love all this stuff that you're doing, and I really appreciate you coming in today. And you do
absolutely. Thanks for having me. There is one more question. What are good motivators, sellers, in addition to expireds? Oh, what's funny? Really good question, because I always get this. Expireds, there's only so many every day, and maybe there's 10, and everyone's calling them. Don't forget, these people on these expired lists, it doesn't matter if you go all the way back to 2010. These people tried to sell their home at one point and did not. So don't think that just that day of expireds. It can be anybody that's ever expired. And I know one agent that knocks it out of the park, because he's calling people 2006, 2007, 2008. And he's going, I saw you put your home on the market. You never moved. You never sold. Well, do you realize that your home is worth X amount of dollars? And so, that's a really good question. So not just expireds, FSBOs. And then back to what Ryan was saying, warm calls, and a good motivator is getting to know people and their stories and understanding why they would want to sell. So that's it.
Awesome. And I think another important thing she does, and we're going to talk about even after she's off here, is finding these things. And you guys, I know you guys pretty well from 10 years of being with you. Some of these things you guys are never going to do because you're not comfortable making phone calls. You're not this or that. Find what works for you. And if, maybe cold calling doesn't work for you, but FSBOs and expireds do, or something like that. And it's just like when you're on a training program for your health or something. And the Atkins diet might work to make people lose weight, but it makes them feel bad, then it doesn't work for you, right? And to other people, it works great for. So there's different things that are going to work for different people. And if you're going to make a plan, do the things that are going to work for you, and do those things, because otherwise you're going to get discouraged and not do it. We've all been there with health and everything else. Gene, I'm going to keep muting you until you stop. All right. So thank you very much, Brooke, for coming in. Please let me know if you have any questions. You guys have our cell phone. Should be happy to help you guys, work with you guys. And I also tell you, I love what you said at the end. I want to talk to you. I want to see what we can do for you as a title company. I want to see what your lender's doing for you. Make sure your team, if you're giving your lender people, make sure they're giving you people. Make sure they're helping you with your branding.
Absolutely. And that goes for title. We are here for you guys. We want your success drives our success. So we want you guys successful. So that's a very good point. But I'll respond, and I'll give a little worksheet and some more information on where to find calls and different things. But thanks for having me, everyone. I really appreciate it.
We'll have you back, friend. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye, Fred.
All right, guys. You guys have any questions? And I wanted to show you something I was working on during that, because you guys asked the question, and Oh, did I erase it? Nope, I did not. So I am going to share my screen. So while you guys were doing that, I asked ChatGPT. What did I ask? Here we go. What's the best way to make sure cold call phone numbers are not on the do not call list? It thought for 27 seconds to give me this answer. It did think for a while. It gives a bunch of things like that. Just ask ChatGPT or one of them, Grok, one of them about this. All that. And then I said, who sells? And then it said, here's what I can recommend. Recommend a few reputable DNC scrubbing vendors and compare pricing and features. Who sells these scrub lists? And it gave me several people who sell different kinds of lists. And then it says, would you like me to compare 2 or 3 providers and side by side for your expected monthly volume, et cetera? So if you tell ChatGPT what you're trying to do, it will help you and save you a bunch of time. Okay. And it gives you a list of people. She just gave you some that I would take her list even more seriously because she's actually using it and it's working. But these are other ones. If those don't have what you're looking for. And I tell you guys the same thing when you're trying to do a CRM, and you guys ask me what's the best CRM, and I tell you take a morning and get schedule 3 or 4 demos for a morning. All you gotta do is go on their website and ask them for a demo and schedule it for the morning of some morning and do 3 or 4 of them that morning, and just sit there and listen to one after the other back to back to back, and they all have different features. And just like we were just talking about, I know there's certain things I won't use that a CRM does. And so that CRM might not be, it might be for someone who's more technical than I am or less technical than I am. But I know what I'm comfortable doing and what I know I will do, because it doesn't matter. You can watch all the fitness videos and stuff you want, but if you don't actually go to the gym, it doesn't help. I can tell you that. So you've got to find what you will do. And that's the most important thing. Okay. Do you guys have any other questions about anything? We're seeing you guys pick up. We're seeing the market pick up a little bit. So that's good news. It has been, the rates, we talked about this a little bit. They didn't really help when they lowered it a quarter point, which everybody knew was coming, and it was kind of already baked in. Rates were lowering before that. And then they said, watch out, we're going to lower it a couple more times, which just killed us. I wish they hadn't said that, because that means why do it now when I can wait a little bit longer? If I wait 3 more months, the rate's going to go down half a point, right? So that didn't really help much, but it is heading the right direction. It's going to continue to, I believe. And business is picking up a little bit. I think you guys have seen, some of you guys have told me you've seen more and more action on your listings and stuff. For most of them, some of you guys are really struggling with your listings, and it's all pricing right now. Everybody who's struggling with their listing is not getting showings, which means your prices are too high. If you are getting showings, they're selling. Stella, Carolina, how can I help you? If you're trying to talk, your mute is on. You didn't mean to raise your hand. That's okay too. Any other questions? All right, guys, you guys get anything out of that? Tammy, you like that? Okay. Will you guys actually use that? It got into more goal setting stuff that you guys hate so much when I do it. But you've got it. She was breaking it down the same way I do for you guys. If I want to make this much money, I got to make this many calls, or to do this many things, send this many mailers, or join this many groups, or do whatever. I do know that she mentioned Rotary Club, Kiwanis, stuff like that. That does those kind of things help. Those of us whose kids are too old to be in sports or stuff like that. But if your kids are in sports, you get involved with the coaching, or the team mom or the team dad or whatever to do for that. Yes, Tammy.
The only thing that cold calling, as many spam calls that you get a day, you almost feel like, is that, are people even answering those calls? Because you get so many junk calls every day.
Right. So you would not do well with cold calling, which I already knew about you, Tammy.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
But some people have the personality for it, and some people don't. And yeah, you get a lot. That's why people.
That's not an excuse. It's just a comment.
That's why people hate it.
Yeah.
I mean, if we only got one a year, we'd be like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
But you get 10 a day, And you're like, I mean, what is worse than what about tell me about your car warranty,
Yeah.
because we were getting a lot of those. How many of you guys love love good old NAR giving everybody your healthcare stuff, your health insurance stuff, or your information to all the health insurance companies? I get 5 of those a day. They want to,
Exactly.
So maybe they know something I don't.
I used to answer every call because I'm a realtor, thinking, oh, maybe it's a buyer, but now I just don't answer them because
that's sad, and that's what selling our information has done to us.
Yeah.
All right, Stella, Carolina.
Hi. Sorry, I dropped the call by mistake earlier. I have a listing going live tomorrow in Castleberry, price at 448. And I'm looking for somebody to do an open house this weekend if possible. I posted it on the Facebook group, but no takers yet.
Okay.
So if anybody's interested,
okay. Thank you. I didn't see it in the group. I would have announced it.
I'll post it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please do.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Christina.
Hello. Yeah, I just want to, chip in case anybody else is in the same boat as me. Like I have some listings sitting and, some of them could use some adjustments and the sellers aren't, they're willing to look at offers, but they don't want to make the adjustments. Some of them are priced right. And I am starting to get a few more showings, but, it's bizarre. I've got a great one downtown. If anybody has a downtown buyer, it's a 3-story brownstone, like brand new AC, freshly painted, super cute. It's in a neighborhood called Copley Square. It's in Soto, right by Ten and Taco. Anyway, yeah, I'm getting showings, but I'm not getting offers. And the one 2 doors down, it had a few more upgrades. Like the guy renovated it a little bit more. He did put some money into it, but he just sold in July for 520. I've got it at 505. And so I don't know. I'm still seeing some stuff sitting. I've got another one coming up this week in Mount Dora. If anybody is looking for Mount Dora, for some reason, whenever I have anything there, it's that area seems to be super popular. I mean, it's cute. I get it. I get why, but I get so many more calls in that area than in my other areas. But yeah, I'm getting some showings on some of the listings, but people are not wanting to even put forth the offer, which I find to be weird. And I hope that will change. I mean, were you saying you think there's going to be, I know there's like talk of more reductions. Ryan, you think there's going to be some more?
They're going to keep dropping it a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was going to happen.
That's not me saying that. That's them. They said that.
Yeah, and I remember when you had the mortgage guy on, he was saying he thought it was going to really drop in 2026. The other thing that I'm kind of anticipating, because I'm hearing this from mortgage broker friends, just something to keep in mind. I don't know if anybody else did. I used to do distress sales, like, when the, big crash happened. I had a neighbor that was like, very, very much older. Now he's probably, close to 90. He was, just happened to be a foreclosure guy, right? Before the foreclosure crisis happened. And so he needed help. He was one of the biggest foreclosure teams at the time. And so I was doing all types of distressed properties. But I think a lot of people I'm seeing or hearing that there's a lot of people that are delinquent, that are falling behind on their loan. And then there's a lot of people that are leveraged. So, I mean, I hate to hear that because it's like very sad. But I think there's going to be some people that are going to need to sell. And at least now they don't have to get foreclosed. They can get money out, which is, different than it was back then. They were going to walk away with nothing. Now they can sell and get money. But I don't know. I think that's going to be a thing. I don't know if anybody else is thinking the same thing. I think we're going to see more people that are leveraged and just need to sell. And the cold calling thing, I haven't cold called. I think I'm going to start doing a little bit more of that. But yeah, I kind of wanted the same thing. I mean, obviously it's working because they call me 600 times. They call me every day, like 20 times. Somebody's picking up these calls. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, you're right. And yeah, you're right. So I want to talk about something else. Brian mentioned that he does the ringless voicemail. I actually don't mind that at all. I kind of prefer that when if somebody's gonna bother me with something, at least I see it on my voicemails, and I know when they do it because I'll get a voicemail and I'm like, my phone didn't ring. So 90% of the time, that's a ringless voicemail. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it's just something you go straight to someone's voicemail. It doesn't bother their phone. And I think it's a less intrusive way to cold call somebody. That's my
What's the
opinion.
app for that?
Brian can tell you. I don't know, but it's also, I just saw it though on, I just X'd out of it, but I had ChatGPT said something about it too. So you can look on there as well, but I'm sure Brian will tell you. He'll put it in the comments. Chad. Good morning.
Good morning. Just on the rates, if you have a broker that you like, maybe take a look at if you have any sales in the past couple of years or their rates were in the sevens, potentially seeing, connecting them with a mortgage broker because the rates have dropped enough that refinancing is a good idea for people right now. I've got a couple people that, I'm saving a couple $100 a month on their mortgage payment. So just let people know, as long as it's been 6 months, they can't refinance. Then, dropping from 7.25 down to 5.5 is a big change for me. And your broker will likely end up helping you out as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. Christine, do you have another question?
Yeah, I was curious, and I know a lot of us on here are like relationship-based sellers. I'm really good with I do a lot of pop buys through the year, and I stay in touch. I do a monthly newsletter. I'm calling people. I'm taking them out to coffee, lunch, dinner, all that good stuff. But I haven't really done like a Christmas party or anything like that. And I'm just curious, is anybody doing a client event, and have you found like a good cost-effective way to do that?
I have not heard of you guys doing that. I've seen other realtors do it, but I haven't heard of you guys doing that.
Yeah, I've heard there's some agent that I heard that, this is like people are doing that kind of stuff all the time, right? But I've heard people are doing heard one person, they did like a quarterly dinner where they would take I don't know, a few of their best clients, their A clients that are referring people regularly, and take them out to a nice restaurant. So I heard people are doing that quarterly. And of course, we're coming up on the holidays, and I know some people are doing holiday parties. And I have a friend that did one, and he did a nice event at a nice place and spent a pretty penny on it, and nobody showed up. So I just was interested if anybody on the call had any experience or thoughts on that.
That's what I do it, Christina. I don't do those type of events for that same reason.
Yeah, I think he spent like a couple grand, and it was a nice setup. And but then I hear from I have another friend that he just does a house, he's renovated his house recently, so he's got like a really beautiful kitchen, and he gutted the whole thing, bought it, gutted the whole thing. It's like a model home. He does a Christmas party with charcuterie, the title company and the lender help. He does like a bar and like a photo booth, and he's got a good turnout every year. So I think that's helpful. I just was interested, if people were doing stuff like that.
Yeah, if you're a producing agent, your title company and your lenders that's what we do when we do our events. We get title companies and lenders to pay for almost all of it. We get co-sponsors. And I think that's a great way to do it. The guy's got a house to do. Obviously, he's doing pretty well if he's gutting houses and remodeling them. His own nice place, like you said. Then he must be doing pretty well, and he can afford to do that. And yeah, you'll get continued deals. You're creating loyalty. People want you to be their realtor. It's an event in their life. It's part of their life. So yeah, you're going to create that almost obligation from clients to at least give you a shot at all their business.
Yeah, there was an agent that I did a deal with in 24, and she did she rented out a theater, but she rented out the theater at the I think like the, Fashion Square Mall where she got it pretty cheap. So all in, she got her sponsors to pay for it. She did like a movie event for families like in December or something like that. And she said it was like $1,000, but like the sponsors covered it. So another idea, but yeah, just like I said, I do pop buys, and I encourage everybody else to do, if you're not doing that, it's pretty effective. But that's what I'm doing, and I'm trying to maybe branch into some more events like that.
Okay, if you guys aren't hearing it correctly, she's saying pop buys, not Popeyes, like the chicken. People love
That's a
Popeyes.
great idea. I should just give them Popeyes.
You get my business. Tammy.
I don't know if you've heard of this, but probably have. They before Thanksgiving, you can take orders for pies. One of the big agents in Lake Nona, but he's probably got so many clients that they set up a location, and then people like drive up and they give them their pie, and they order them ahead of time, and they do a pie day.
I do that, but it's a little more costly, but I have it delivered. Like I have a delivery driver. So I just have it, they order it, and then we pick a couple of days, and it just gets delivered. But it's pretty popular.
What do you spend on that?
I mean, it's a few $100s. I think I paid the delivery driver somewhere south of 400. I've got people all over the place, like
Yeah, I do too.
Spread out. So I think that's, I want to say it's, south of 4 for the driver. And the pies are not very expensive because generally speaking, if somebody's not like a vegan, then it's a little bit more like gluten-free, then I'll get them a special pie. But the Publix pies are not very much, like the pumpkin pies, I think they're like
$8 or something.
I think it's less than that. I think it's less than that. I think it's like 5 or 6. And it's a good pie. So, all in all, I think it's like around $600 or $800, and I'll do the same thing around Christmas, but with like peppermint bark.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, they like it.
You have that delivered? Do you have the peppermint bark delivered?
Yes. So I go typically, like, it's real easy if you want to do pies, because you can put in a catering order, or just, call Publix and say, hey, I want a bulk amount of pies. Your driver, if you're having somebody drive it and it's not you, they can just go, you can have it, whatever Publix is closest to them, they can just go and pick it up there, and they can even, if you're doing it over several days, you can, get 20 one day, 20 the next day. For the peppermint barks, like I usually get those. I've been getting them at Trader Joe's. Those are a little bit more expensive. They're like 13 a thing, but you get like a nice metal tin. So I will get them, and then my driver will come pick them up, and then she'll, you can get them at like Home Goods. They've got good deals on things like that. But yeah, that's the way that I do it.
Awesome. So we got pies, pot pies, pop buys, Popeyes. We got a little bit of everything. So, and if you are not English first listening to this, good luck. And I want to thank you all for coming. Does anybody have any other questions? All right, guys. Well, let us know. Jeanette is here. As you can see her lovely face on the screen. If you need anything from her, she's there working. Michelle is in the meeting as well. If you need something for marketing. And we will see you next week. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
All right, guys. We have a inspector coming next week. All right. Bye.